And good morning or good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to the Get to Know ENA webinar. We're glad to have you here and learn more about the new Entuity Network Analytics. I'm Matt Latham, the Director of Product and Content at Entuity, based in the London office, and joining me is John Diamond, who's our Senior Systems and Solutions Engineer. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll give you a tour of the new Entuity Network Analytics and show you how it can help. First of all, before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. So you can use the chat panel for any questions on the right. You can ask any questions during the presentation and we'll get to them at the end. There'll be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. This is the agenda for today. So what we're going to cover first of all is I'm going to talk through the general philosophy behind the new release of ENA. Then we're going to go into a few more in-depth features and show the new dashboard, which JD will guide you through. After that, we'll be back to myself and I'm going to give you a tour of the new ENA Help Center, which is also launched with the product as well. And then we'll talk about the best practices for getting upgraded from your current version of Entuity up to ENA. It is a compatible upgrade from 16.5 upwards. And after that, any questions you have, we'll cover the questions, and then at the end we'll summarize. So just to start off right at the beginning, we do refer to this new release as Entuity Network Analytics. So from this point forward, if you hear us referring to the new product as ENA, it's essentially just our abbreviated term. So I'm sure many of you have seen the new product, whether it be by the release notification that's just gone out by the support team or you've visited the website. It looks very different. And under the hood, it's still very much the Entuity that you know. There has been a redesign of the UI, and it's been redesigned with a certain philosophy in mind. So what was our thinking behind it? And we listened to a lot of customer feedback on this. So we wanted it to be easier to use, as did you. Easier to spot problems, easier to investigate problems once spotted. And for that reason, what you'll see in JD's presentation is a complete redesign of every dashboard. So it's cleaner, it's more modern, it's easier to see what you need to see to fix problems quickly. We also wanted to retain the familiarity of the old Entuity that you know. So although it does look different, you'll find many of the things you love are still there. The Explorer is still there, just in a different form. The product is still dashboard centric in that you have dashboards for each network component, and the administrative tasks that power Entuity are still the same. There are some new features and some new technologies which JD will talk about. So we've also heard from our customers that customization was key to helping you manage a network successfully. And in previous versions of Entuity, you did have the ability to create dashboards, but ENA brings that to a whole new level. And JD will demonstrate this shortly. Out of the box, ENA, we've designed dashboards for every single network component to reflect what we think are the best metrics. However, we also know it's important for you to customize dashboard views, not only for yourselves, but for your customers too. So with ENA, you have the ability to customize every dashboard for every network component to show as much or as little as you want. And you have granular permissions for every single dashboard to control who sees what and how much they see. It's really designed to show exactly the data that you need that's important for your business. And with that, JD is actually going to give you a tour of the new demo. So we're not going to go slides, we're actually going to get the product right up on the screen, and he's going to talk you through some of the new features. So I'm going to hand over to JD now.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. And this gives me my opportunity to show you the real thing. We've been working hard for quite a while now to get this to a point where you'll be able to take advantage of the new user interface, and here it is. This is how you'll log into the new ENA system, and as Matt said, ENA is simply the next version of the Entuity Network Management System after 16.5. And so there's the upgrade path from 16.5 into ENA that we'll be talking about towards the end today. I'm going to log in and give you a very quick whistle-stop tour around the user interface to to show you the main navigation principle. Now, I've set this system up with a home page that simply has this three-dimensional graphic down below. Out of the box, when you log in, you would actually see the summary dashboard. So here, the main thing that an ordinary user, not an administrator, but an ordinary user would be most concerned with is this tool called the Explorer. Now, this is directly equivalent to the old navigation tree that you're used to, which took up the left-hand side of your screen in several of the screens, including the Explorer. So here we've called it the Explorer, and it's a way of navigating to the context that you want to operate in. Now, the context is simply the view, the device, maybe the port, maybe a service, maybe some other concept that we have, a specific one that you want to see more details on. And then below that, you have a dashboard that will focus in on whatever context you've specified in the Explorer. By default, it's the My Network view, but what I can do is show you that if I were to click on the Explorer, then you will see the various subviews that exist within My Network. Quick note here, and that is that within the My Network view, you will now only see subviews. If you want to then show devices, they'll need to be in a subview. And you'll also notice that the All Objects view is now under My Network rather than the opposite way around, which is how it was before. Minor change, just worth noting. Anyway, within the Explorer, these are the subviews. If I were to just click one by name, you'll see that we've navigated to it. We've built up what's on the right of the Explorer button. We call that the breadcrumb line. Each individual section of the breadcrumb line is an independent entity, and you'll see the relevance of that in a moment. The dashboard is now focused on the By Office subview of My Network. Now, we're currently using a dashboard called Summary, which is the shipping default for the dashboard configuration. And if I were to navigate further, just as you would with the old navigation tree, if I go in here, rather than clicking the name, if I go to the right and click this blue button, then we'll navigate into it. That's what's in the By Office view. And if I look at what's inside the New York headquarters view, these are all of the devices. Now, I could carry on. If I wanted to see what was inside the HQ01 device, you'll see all of its ports. I'm not going to go there for now. Let's go back. So we've got the device level. I'm going to select it. And so we now are looking at the HQ01 device within the New York headquarters view, within the By Office view, which is in the My Network view. So we can see the full path and the device itself. Now, incidentally, following on that parallel with the previous navigation tree that used to always take up the left-hand side of the screen for the Explorer and various other parts of the UI, I could select any part of the breadcrumb line, right-click, and get a context-sensitive menu. I click the device, so these operations would be in the context of that device. If I selected that view and right-click, these operations would be in the context of that view. And talking about devices, on the right, we've got the dashboards that are relevant to this particular device. We have different dashboards for views, for devices, for ports, for services, and various other concepts. And these are the dashboards that are relevant to this device. There are 5 of them: summary, incidents, ports, resources, and flow, which by default, and you can change this, are considered favorite dashboards. If I were to click one, then we'll go straight to it. We've also got this catch-all on the right, the All Dashboards menu, where we've not only got those 5 favorite dashboards, but we've got all of the other ones that are relevant to a device. And you'll notice here down at the bottom, we've got attributes and associations. Those between them fulfill the same role as the old Advanced tab in the Explorer in 16.5. Now, we've also got a variety of functionality implemented as dashboards that have direct parallels with the tabs on the old Explorer. So for example, if you went to the ports dashboard, you would see a list of all of the ports. If you go to the resources dashboard, it will tell you about the processors, modules, memory, and all of the other resources within that device. If you go to the flow dashboard, you'll be able to get access to all of the flow reporting. And down here, the configuration monitor dashboard is equivalent to the old configuration tab, where you could see all of your configuration archive for uploaded configuration files. So there's a direct parallel between a lot of these dashboards and the tabs in the old Explorer. Now, there's one other bit that I want to point out at this moment, and in fact two bits. First of all, you've got these triple dot menus. These that's a menu for the whole dashboard, in this case the summary dashboard, and this is a menu that applies to this particular dashlet, a dashlet being a portion of a dashboard. That menu would apply to this specific dashlet. So there are other menus that apply in context, and there's one more menu, this one up at the top, the main menu. If I bring that one down, you'll see these options don't have any context. If I want to get at all of the administrative operations, so if I'm an administrator or a suitably authorized non-administrator, I can get at administrative operations like adding new devices to take under management from the administration page. I can set my own personal preferences using the preferences option, and I can get at the entire reporting system, which doesn't have a context, from the reports option. So that's a quick view of how to navigate around the screen. Now, what I'm going to show you now is all about dashboard building. Now, in 16.5, we had the concept of static dashboards. Let me show you one. I built this one earlier, and this is specifically showing an incident viewer for the New York view. So it's hard-coded to show me the New York view. Here's a map of the New York data center, and here's a list of the devices and their states within the New York view. So that's a typical sort of dashboard that you might have created in 16.5 and earlier. I'm going to show you how a static dashboard like this can be mimicked in ENA. Now, the word static implies that this is hard-coded to, in this case, New York. So it's this dashboard will only show me what's going on in New York. Let me build one of those for you right here and now. I'm an administrator. I have permission to build dashboards. Non-administrators can be granted that permission as well. You would go down to the dashboard configuration option, and that brings you up a special dashboard that's designed to show you what dashboards you already have and allows you to build new ones. Anything with a padlock is a dashboard that is a system dashboard that we have provided to you. You can use it and you can duplicate it, so you can make a copy of it, but you can't change it. I'll touch on that in a moment. So here, what I'm going to do is to create a brand new dashboard just by hitting that blue Create Dashboard button. The first thing it's going to ask me is the name that this dashboard is going to have. And as I'm going to be talking about a New York dashboard, this is going to be hard-coded for New York. I'm just going to call it New York. And down here, the only other thing I'm going to change, I could give it an icon if I wanted to, pick it off a list. I'm going to say this is going to be a static dashboard. We'll come on to dynamic in a moment. So static dashboards only appear in the menu when you've got the My Network view selected. But before I forget, there's one more bit down the bottom. It's very easy to forget this, so please don't forget. I've done it myself several times. You've got to actually grant access to what it is you're creating. Otherwise, you'll finish creating it, and nobody, not even you, can see what you've done. I'm an administrator, so at the moment, I'm just going to give myself access to that. So we're going to have access to the administrators, and that's it. That's enough for the time being to be getting on with. What I've got is a canvas. It's 12 by 12 grid cells here, and I can put onto that canvas whatever dashlets I want. And I don't have to put them on in a predefined arrangement. I can make it up as I go along. That's something brand new in ENA. Previously, you were restricted to certain predefined layouts. First of all, I'm going to put an incident list. These are a list of all of the available dashlet types that we have for you. I'm going to select the incident list, which is equivalent to the incident viewer, and just say next. The only thing I'm going to change is where this dashlet gets its context. I'm going to say this is going to be fixed, and I'm going to say it's going to be fixed to the New York headquarters view here. So I'm going to pin it down just like we did in 16.5. Okay, that's going to be the only change I'm going to make. By default, it's taking up the entire screen, all 12 by 12 grid cells. I don't want that. I'm going to grab the bottom. You see that double-headed arrow? I'm going to bring it up to the top and say I'm going to give it those top 4 cells. So that's the amount of the screen I'm going to use for the incident viewer. Now it's time to put another one in. I said I was going to give you a map. We'll have a map next, and the only thing I'm going to change on here is where the map gets its context. I'm going to say it's going to be fixed. I'm going to fix it to the New York headquarters view again. That's it. That's all I need. It's going to take up all of the remaining space. I don't want that. Go to the right, see the double-headed arrow. I'm going to move that across and take up the left-hand half of the page. One more dashlet to go. Now, here I could put that device status report on, just like we had in 16.5, but I can actually do better. We've got a device status dashlet. If I select that, it's going to summarize all the devices. Even if I had hundreds of them, it will summarize it in what I refer to as a donut chart. You'll see what it looks like in just a moment. The dashlet source, I'm going to say that's going to be fixed. Again, I'm going to say it is the New York headquarters view. Done, and we've got that. It's taking up the remaining space. Okay, the dashboard is created. I've named it New York. I've made sure that the administrators can get to it. I'm going to save it. Please don't forget to save it. And then I'm going to preview it. So this is what it is. It's called New York. These are all of the open incidents in the New York view. That's the map of the New York data center. And here's that donut chart. Currently, all 13 of my devices are in the OK state. If any were to change, then that will be reflected on the donut chart, and you'll be able to see that. OK, I'm going to exit this, and I'll now hit the company icon up in the top left. That takes me back to my default home page. Remember, that was something that I put in. I'm not using the standard one. If I were to look over here, I didn't say that that dashboard was going to be one of my favorites, so it's not up here. But if you look down, you'll see there's a New York dashboard. It's right at the top. By default, it's going to be the highest priority, but it's not a favorite, so I'm going to select it, and there I've got it. You've got your New York dashboard, all hard-coded for New York. Okay, I've got a view out in Burbank, California. I want the same sort of dashboard for that view. I could just duplicate the work I've already done, save me having to recreate it, change the title, and then go to each of these 3 dashlets, and then say I want it to focus on the Burbank view. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But what happens if I had 200 views and I wanted to do the same thing, but for all of them? Well, that's probably not going to be something that I can do in 5 minutes. That's going to take a while. There's another approach, and that's where dynamic dashboards come into play. Let me show you what a dynamic dashboard will do for you. This one's hard-coded to New York, but as I created it, if I pull down the menu, I can not only edit it, but I can also duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to rename it, and this time, because I've got lots of different locations, all defined by views, let's just call it locations. That's just a name I've made up. That's going to be my locations dashboard. And this will apply to any view that I have. I could give it an icon. I'm not going to bother now. But rather than being a static dashboard, which only appears in the My Network view, I'm going to say this is a dynamic dashboard, and this is going to apply to views. I could do a different one for devices, another one for ports, but this is very specifically for views. I'm going to leave all of that lot down here, default configured, but don't forget, user groups, it's going to be allocated to nobody. I'm going to allocate it to the administrators. Not only am I going to give access, but this time I'm going to make it a favorite as well. So that's how you make a dashboard a favorite. You can give it to a whole user group and put it as their favorites. Okay, that's done. So here, no other changes needed, and I'll just say done. That's not the end of the story. Not only have I changed the title to locations, but I need to rewire where these 3 dashlets are going to get their context. They're not going to be hard-coded to New York. If I go to settings, you'll see that down here, instead of a fixed object, I'm going to revert back to the default, which was dashboard. That means it will consult the Explorer line. Whichever view I've selected in the Explorer line will be the view that these incidents are shown against. So that's all I need to do there. I'm going to do it for all 3 of them. Again, go for the dashboard, and likewise down here, I'm going to go for the dashboard instead of a fixed object. I'm done. That is now a dynamic dashboard. I'm going to save it, don't forget to save it, and preview it. Now within preview, that's showing the My Network view. If I were to pick a different view, like by Office, that is now the view. This dashboard is now automatically updated. All 3 of these dashlets are now referring to the by Office view. So if I had 200 views, or 300, or 2,000, it doesn't matter. That dashboard will apply to whichever view I've selected. That is an incredibly powerful concept. You can see here, you are effectively building out the UI. This is a UI builder because the UI is constructed from dashboards that are interlinked. Now, we give you a whole bunch of dashboards. I showed you a list. Those were only the ones for the views, and there's lots more for devices and ports and other concepts. I told you they were read-only. Anything that's read-only can't be changed, but you can effectively make a change. If I were to, for example, here, I'm just going to exit preview and exit the whole builder. If I were to look at my summary view, you might say, well, that is almost, but not quite, what I want for a summary dashboard. I really don't want to see a list of subviews shown in this tabular style here. I want to switch that out for a map. But this is a read-only view because Entuity provided it. You don't think of that as being the end of the story. I can duplicate that dashboard. I'm going to leave it default named here just with the date on it. It's a view summary. I'm going to leave it the icon all the same. I'm going to leave it as a dynamic dashboard, but I'm going to need to grant access again, because when you create a new dashboard, even if it's a duplicate, then nobody is granted access. Again, I'm going to give access to myself, and I'm going to make it a favorite. So that'll be the administrators group. Okay, we've got that, and now that dashboard is a copy based on the previous one, so I haven't had to build it. I just plagiarized the one that we got in here. Plagiarization is and plagiary is totally acceptable here. And I'm going to say I don't want that. I'm going to delete that dashlet. I'm going to add a new one. You've seen this before. Got the map. Let's add the map in. I'm going to leave it taking its context from the Explorer line, the dashboard, and I'm going to say done. So we have a map. Okay, at this point, I can save it. I'm just going to exit from here, and you'll see the effect. We now have, because it's a favorite, it's on my favorites line, by default, it's going to be the highest priority favorite. So here it is on the left. And so whenever I select a view, let's go in and take that view. Whenever I select a view, it's going to show me that by default because it's the highest priority favorite. Now, it's all well and good. I've got that summary, and I've also got the original summary. What happens if I want it to become the summary dashboard to replace the default? There's a very easy way to do that. If I go back and edit it and say up here in the dashboard menu, go to its settings, you get back to that original menu that you saw when I first duplicated it. All I have to do is duplicate the name. If I make it called summary, which is exactly the same name as the original, because it's got a higher priority, when I save that and exit, what you'll now see is we only have one summary dashboard, and it's my new one. So if I go back here to the by Office view, you'll see that has become my summary dashboard. It's as though I edited that read-only dashboard. So that's how you can go about taking advantage of what Entuity has already provided for you. And by the way, these dashboards I've been showing you, they are all what we call fit-to-window dashboards. So everything that's in the dashboard is on the screen at the same time. Nothing is scrolled. Now, what you can do is have an alternative style of dashboard. I like to think of it as rather like a Facebook dashboard, a Facebook page, where they scroll to fill all of the available content. And if I'll show you an example, if I were to go find a device, I'm actually going to look for a device here, not in the by office, but it's in the all objects. I'm going to find a VMware vCenter. And here, in the VMware vCenter, if I were to, and you'll notice this is a very different looking summary dashboard. On a per device type basis, you can have different dashboards superseding the default. Here, if I were to find a hypervisor, go select it, and then find a virtual machine within there, let's go select this one called dock build, then there are so many dashlets that we want to show you for the hypervisor. We haven't crammed them all onto one window. We're using an alternate mode called scrolling. So there are even more dashlets if I scroll down. You can take advantage of that. There's just a mode setting in one of those default modes that I didn't touch earlier, which is the difference between fit to window and scrolling. And one last thing I want to show you is something that we've taken advantage of, but you can also take advantage of it. If I go back and take a look at all offices here, I'm going to pick this router, CA01. Got a good reason for doing that. If I go down here, you'll see in the dashboards, we've got a QoS dashboard already supplied as standard. And here, we start off with one or more policy maps. This particular router is configured with one policy map called traffic marking in. And if I were to select it, all of these other dashlets, by the way, have no context to begin with. I'm going to select it by clicking anywhere on that table line, anywhere apart from the blue hyperlink. If you click a blue hyperlink, it's going to jump you in the context of that object to its default dashboard, which in this case would be a summary dashboard for the traffic marking policy map. I don't want to do that. I just want to select the policy map, and this dashlet, the class maps dashlet, is taking its context from here. It's not taking it from the Explorer line, and it's not hard-coded. I've actually wired up the dashboard, or rather Entuity has wired it up for you, so that the class maps dashlet is using the policy maps dashlet as its context source. So whatever you select in here, if there were multiple different policy maps, you would choose the appropriate one to show all of the class maps. Probably more effective here, if I were to select one of these, this one here, you'll see that all of these dashlets are now taking their context from that class map. If I were to pick a different one, then you'll be getting different information being displayed because it's now displaying it for a different class map. You can build your own dashboards using that technique. It's just another one of those options. It's a third option on that dashlet source option. When you are applying a dashlet, you say, where is it going to get its context from? Finally, these dashboards comprise multiple dashlets. If you're going to show that on a cell phone or on a tablet, this is a responsive designed UI, and that will show you the dashlets arranged appropriately for the screen that you're viewing on. So if you're viewing on a cell phone, a smartphone, then it will reorganize it and it'll probably stack those dashlets on top of each other so you scroll down so that you're not trying to cram them all onto the same screen. That means that you've got full access to everything that you would have from your desktop on your tablet and on your smartphone as well. Exactly the same experience. It's not like having an app on a cell phone where you've got a limited set of functionality. This is the complete soup to nuts experience on cell phone or tablet. Okay, We've also got some new features. Not only have we got a new UI, under the hood we've got some new features as well. First one I'm going to tell you about is about a Cisco technology called NBAR. NBAR's been around for a while. In fact, there's the original NBAR and there's NBAR 2. We support both. NBAR is a way on a Cisco device of exploring and getting information about the breakdown of different applications flowing across a given port, and how much traffic there is flowing in each direction for each application. It also allows you to break down using deep packet inspection within a given TCP or UDP port. For example, you might have a bunch of different applications all using HTTPS. With NBAR, you can configure your device to uniquely identify each of those applications, even though they're all sharing TCP port 443. If I were to go and find a device here called HQ01, I'm going to show you an NBAR dashboard. So this is a device that's got the NBAR facility turned on, and we are monitoring a bunch of the applications on it. NBAR itself has about 90 different application types that it will monitor. NBAR 2 has over 1,000. And you can pick and choose which ones you actually want to be gathering stats on. And so here, there are 2 ports which have NBAR stats. I'm going to click one of them, and it'll go across to the NBAR dashboard for that port. And it's going to show me over time, color-coded here, the mix of traffic. If I just put my cursor over it, you'll see which applications in which volume there was at any particular time. And so it's got inbound and outbound traffic displayed independently, and it also shows you what percentage of the traffic is being categorized and which is in the miscellaneous pile. Anything that is not explicitly being polled is considered miscellaneous, and would be the gap between 100 and the actual figure here. We've also got the concept of blacklisting, and that allows you to nominate certain protocols, such as TFTP in this case, and also I think you'll find that we had BitTorrent also, here we go, BitTorrent was also blacklisted. And so if there's any TFTP or BitTorrent on this particular port, it'll raise an event and a corresponding incident in real time, and you'll see, and that'll be your warning that there is an app that you didn't want on that circuit present, and it's time to go asking searching questions. We've got support for Cisco's ACI, their application-centric infrastructure, where they're separating the data plane and the control plane functions within the routers and switches. And all of the configuration of the devices, instead of being done at the command line, which is your traditional approach to configuring routers and switches, that's all being done now in a controller referred to as an APIC. And the APIC can now be taken under management. We talk to it via its own proprietary API. And if I were to show you what happens when you take one of these under management, I've got one under management here. I'm going to select the summary dashboard, and you're going to see a variety of new concepts. First of all, an ACI configured network is going to use a leaf and spine architecture, but it may have independent leaf and spine networks gathered together as one large network. Each of these subnetworks is considered a pod. In this case, we've only got one, but there may be multiple. And you've got a collection of switches. Some of them are acting as leaf switches, some as spine switches, and you'll also see the APIC itself appearing under this list of what's called fabric nodes. There are a variety of concepts. Anybody who has implemented ACI will be familiar with these concepts, but you are now able to explore all of this because we are discovering it and monitoring in real time what's going on. We're picking up on the faults that are reported so that you can see them, but more specifically, the APIC will report a number of different metrics that it refers to as different health metrics. And when these drop below a certain percentage, then we will raise an event and corresponding incident, and you can tune that. So you've got a lot of information you can drill in, see your power supplies, line cards, fan trays, supervisor cards, all of this sort of information. And you've also got access to all of the tenant information and the policy control information that drives the whole ACI configured environment. And finally, just wanted to point out that we have extended our cloud and virtualization support. We've added some deeper storage monitoring for the VMware hypervisor-based support, either direct or via vCenter. But we've also extended our AWS support, the Amazon AWS, and we've added Microsoft Azure. So if I, for example, were to go back here and take a look at what we've got an example of Azure monitoring, and here in the summary dashboard, again, it looks very different. We've got the hypervisors. If I were to go here for the Southeast Asia hypervisor, then we'll see that, in fact, there's only one virtual machine on that one, but all of the configuration is pulled out, and we're monitoring memory usage, CPU usage, disk usage, and various other concepts in real time. They would actually be graphed out on a real system. So we've got that there with normalized statistics across Azure, across AWS, across on-premises virtualization. You're going to have a hybrid, almost certainly, of on-premises and public cloud, and you're going to have consistent dashboards across them all to be able to visualize where your workloads are located and what they're doing. And at that point, I think it's time for me to pass back to Matt to tell you about some great new enhancements in the way that we provide help for you. Matt, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Great, thank you very much, JD. Yes, so with the launch of ENA, we've also overhauled our support and digital platforms. So you now have a brand new ENA Help Center. So I'm going to show you this. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can, Matt.
Great, excellent. So from the Entuity main website, from the support tab up here, the first thing I'm going to show you is where you find all of your old documentation, because previously many of you may have accessed the Entuity Training Academy for this thing. So let me go to the support homepage, and all of the old documentation is under the 16.5 and support resources. So if we go into any one of these quick links here, you'll find all of your documentation going back to all the previous versions here. However, for ENA, we have a brand new Help Center. So you can find it again in the support menu, the ENA Help Center here. And this is an online knowledge base that is specifically for ENA. We've got the Getting Started section. We recommend reading the migration guide if you're upgrading from 16.5 to ENA. It will talk you through how to get started with ENA, and every other aspect of the product is documented in here. You can also manage your support tickets through here as well. You can obviously see this open ticket option in the header. And for direct customers, you're going to be able to log and manage your tickets, and you'll be able to see your tickets on the front end here via this new support portal, the Help Center. And for BMC customers, you won't be able to see this button, but you will still be able to, your tickets will still be logged by the BMC help desk, but you'll still be able to manage your tickets using the new ENA Help Center. And just to note, you will be able to still email support, and if you email support at Entuity.com, that request will actually make it into the Help Center and be logged as part of your activities. There's also a new training site. So if we scroll down a little here, and you can find this from the main menu on the website as well, the Entuity Training Academy has been resurrected in new form. So in here, you will find a course library and your previous courses to 16.5 and a new course for ENA, which will tell you about how to get started, how to install, and so on. There'll be new courses added here, and we'll notify as we go along. So the support model has really been revamped to essentially help you get your hands on what you need most, because if we go into one of these articles, You'll notice as well that the articles are far more succinct than you may be used to from the previous documentation. They're very task-based to enable you to get what you need done quickly. So that's the tour of the new support center. And next we're going to talk about how you can actually upgrade. So how we can actually upgrade from your current version of Entuity up to ENA. So JD is going to walk you through this.
Absolutely, Matt. And what we'd recommend here is we've got lots of resources for you. Take advantage of them. The first thing is that, as you've seen, the user interface it looks very different to what we had before. Rest assured, the functionality under the hood, under the bonnet, is very similar to what was there before, just with some extra bits for the Cisco ACI, NBAR, and the cloud support, but the underlying functionality is very similar. It's just the UI that's been refactored and simplified and made more logical. You really owe it to yourself to become familiar with that. And the quickest way from a user, not an administrator, but from a user perspective to become familiar, without even installing anything, is to go to the Entuity website, and there's a button on there to request access to the live demo. That will only take about 30 seconds. It'll require you to validate your email address that you enter. But once you're online, you can log in and use the system as though you were logged in as an ordinary user. You won't have any access to the administrative functions, but you'll get the user experience. Then, to go further, to have a full experience, you could just jump straight into your pilot environment, which I know most of you have, where you've got one or more servers running a duplicate of what you've got in your production environment, so that you can upgrade that to the new version. However, you may want to do an intermediate step before looking for server resources, and if you don't have a spare server or spare VM available, what I would recommend is just take your PC, provided you've got at least 8 gig of memory on your PC, download the Windows version. Even if your production environment uses Linux, just download the Windows version. If you're a BMC customer, get it from the EPD portal. If you are a direct Entuity customer, come to the Entuity FTP site and pull down the Windows version and install that. It's the production version of the package, but it will auto-license for 30 days, which means you've got 30 days to get a full-blown experience. If you're loading it on your laptop, then you probably only want to take something up to about 30 devices under management. But you can manage your real devices and get a full soup to nuts experience through the administrative and the user style aspect. But definitely go through a pilot phase, do a trial upgrade, take a clone of a production server, run it up in the pilot environment, and then upgrade that to ENA and make sure that you've got all of your ducks in a row ready for your live transition in your production environment. Okay, Matt.
Great, thank you, JD. Well, let's jump onto the Q&A then. Pat, have any questions come in?
Yes, Matt, we have one. Could you let me know where we get our login credentials for the training center?
Yes, so if you contact your support team, they will be able to set you up on the training site. Essentially, the credentials that you use to log into the ENA Help Center and the training site will actually be one and the same, so the support team will be able to help.
Okay, thanks. And then there's an additional question. What do we need enabled to create a QoS dashboard?
JD, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I'll do that. First of all, that dashboard I showed you, the QoS dashboard, wasn't something I built. That was part of the standard product. So if you like that, it's there ready and waiting for you. If you're monitoring QoS on devices, then all you need to do is to select the device using the Explorer and then go to the All Dashboards menu and select the QoS dashboard. It might be that QoS is so important to you that you really want that dashboard as one of your favorites. That can be made so, if you remember, with the permissioning at the user group level, any individual dashboard can be permissioned so that one or more user group can access it, and on a per user group basis you can make it a favorite. So go ahead, use the Quast dashboard. If you want to redesign it, you may want to just make a copy of that Quast dashboard and do what I did, and go in and make some changes and have your Quast dashboard supersede the standard one. It's all up to you.
Okay, thanks, JD. And that's it for the questions today.
Okay, so to wrap up then, thanks very much everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions after this webinar, reach out to your Entuity systems engineer or your support team. You'll find a recording of this online probably sometime within the next week or so you're going to be able to replay it. And for those of you who don't know, every Friday we have an ENA Fridays, and our resident network experts, JD and Pete Bartz, will give a bite-sized 15 to 20-minute session on something new. What's in this ENA Friday, JD?
Okay, this Friday we're going to be taking a closer look at those new technologies, the NBAR, the Cisco ACI, and the enhanced cloud monitoring capabilities.
Great, okay. And in the previous two ENA Fridays, the first one we looked at a high-level introduction to ENA, and the second one was a closer look at dynamic dashboards, which JD has been through today. So they will be online soon as well. So again, thank you very much for attending, and have a good day.